Well, did you know that women have only been able to open credit card accounts in the U.S. for just the last 50 years?
I remember the first time I learned that stat.
Blew my brain. Yep.
Yeah. And these days, many women are the ones running finances for their households. So during this Women's History Month of March, we thought we'd talk about how women can better share the financial burden and achieve their money goals. Joining us this morning to talk about equity in the finance world is Charlene Charisma, founder and wealth management advisor at House of Q under Northwestern Mutual. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks
great
for
to see
being
you.
here.
Yeah.
This is a great topic. I love
Sure.
talking about this. Women and finances. I mean, within living memory, women couldn't open their own credit card account without a co-signer.
And it was crazy.
It still blows my mind. We've come a long way in that 50 years, but what are some of the challenges still facing women in the financial realm today?
Well, so what's crazy about that, so I'm not sure if people know that credit card and having a bank was 1974. And in fact, up until 1978, women could still be fired for being pregnant.
Wow.
So that's kind of bananas as well. So I was born in 1980. I know I aged myself, but I'm totally fine with that. So I'm one of the first generations of women that have been able to move through life with financial autonomy.
Right.
And I think that women, even when they weren't able to control the money that was coming in, they've always been kind of that household CFO. So if their husband gave them money or this is the access to the account that they still had to manage the groceries, they still had to get money for the kids. And I think that what's changed now, which is pretty cool, is women have become more of the financial CEO of the house. So they're getting to dictate the vision for the family and then collaborate with a partner to how do they make these things happen, which that's pretty awesome. And then if they don't have a partner, well, they get to do it all on their own and
Yeah.
don't have to ask permission or consult with anyone, which is amazing.
Right. And as of this time, have the independence to be able to do that.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes.
Well, talk about how women's leadership and how it's kind of changing this landscape, right? Whether it is on their own or in a couples type of relationship. What is leadership doing to kind of blaze the trail and make sure that women have all the resources and the tools they need to be able to be the household CEO when it comes to this?
Well, I think that there isn't so much outside leadership that's encouraging that, but what the good news is that male or female, most people don't know what they're doing with their finances, so let's just level set that.
Yeah.
What I do think is different is that women are coming with wanting education, where I think that there's a lot of that fly by the seat of your pants for a lot of people, but women are really like, okay, I need to take care of myself, and so they are really setting the agenda there, and I think that that's really beautiful.
Do couples need to fully combine finances? I think that's a big conversation of, do we go the joint route?
The joint
do we stay
account?
autonomous? And I understand when you look at the history of all of this, why someone would want to say, no, I want my own protections in place.
So the good news is there's no wrong or right way. The one thing that you do need to agree on is how you're going to do it as a couple. So there's three options. You can have everything joint, you can have everything separate, or there's a hybrid model, which is what I do, and it's joint and separate. And so I think it's important to have autonomy, and I think that the most important thing is, regardless of the structure that you pick, you should have structure around that and transparency. So if you should know how much debt your partner is carrying, you should know how much they're saving, and you should also know, are they a saver or a spender, and then set your environment up to suit that. So like, I'm a spender, so I automate my savings, I only give myself what I need. I'm much more fancier than my husband. So the other thing is that you can't keep up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
So if I want to fly first class, I'm not gonna have him sit and coach. I'm gonna pay for him to fly first class, or both flying coach.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a negotiation, and then you agree to the terms. So there's no wrong way to do it, but communication
Yeah.
Making sure you're on the
is
same page
so important.
and that the system works for you
Yes.
and your situation.
Yes,
I think
definitely.
that makes a ton of sense. I mean, retirement's also a big issue. You know, women do tend to live longer
Yes, they
do.
than men. So how does this dictate what we do in the retirement realm when it comes to our finances, and what should we be looking out for there?
So obviously, the sooner you can start saving, the better. Women do live longer, and also they tend to historically get paid less, so they're having to do more with less. This isn't a sexy thing, but insurance is very, very important. So there's 4 types of insurance people should have. Health insurance, first and foremost, it's just so you can manage how much time you have on this earth. Protecting your income with disability insurance, that's going to be huge. Because obviously, if you can't work, you can't save for retirement.
Yeah.
Life insurance is another one, especially on him, since he'll probably die sooner. Then you can always fill the retirement coffers with that. but long-term care is one of the ones that is not very sexy to talk about, but it's something that women really should be thinking about, especially since they're going to probably take some time out of the workforce to care for family, including maybe even their parents were of that generation. So those are the things. I know it's not sexy, but you can't save your way for catastrophic events. You might as well just mitigate with insurance and then hope you never need it.
Yeah, it's the foundation, though.
It
doesn't have to
is.
be sexy. It can be the foundation.
It is so boring, but it is a hill I will die on.
Yes, good to know.
And building that foundation really does, I think, empower people to make more confident decisions going forward and feel like you got that roadmap. Communication, so key.
Definitely.
Charlene, thanks for
You're so welcome.
Yeah, great to see
facilitate
you.
the conversation. If you've got questions, if you want to learn more about House of Q and how they can help with your finances, check out this story on coin.com. Just click on AMX